हेलो फ्रेंड्स, आई वेलकम यू टू द टेक्स्ट ब्लूप्रिंट। द टेक्स्ट ब्लूप्रिंट में आपका स्वागत है। टुडे वी आर गोइंग टू डिस्कस द मोस्ट complicated issue in the GST, which is input tax credit. Input tax credit ITC is most debatable and most litigated issue in the GST since 2017 GST came into force. जब से जीएसटी आया है 1 जुलाई 2017 से, तब से आज तक इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट में बहुत डिस्प्यूट हैं, बहुत लिटिगेशन हुई हैं। फॉर गोइंग फॉरवर्ड वी मस्ट सेल थ्रू विद सम क्वेश्चंस। What is input tax credit in GST? Who can avail the GST input? When ITC can be claimed? How much ITC can be utilized? These are four basic questions before utilizing, before claiming, before accumulating the GST input tax credit. So, first of all, the question arises, what is input tax credit? ITC means input tax credit means tax paid or accumulated by eligible person. The important word is eligible person at the time of purchase of goods or services or both shall be treated or accounted for as ITC, input tax credit. Hence, it is the important concept coming out as a eligible person. Eligible person means the person who is registered under the GST. First, the primary condition to avail the GST is the person who wish to claim or who accumulate the GST. He must be registered under the GST. And other than this, he must comply with the condition laid under section 16 subsection 1 of the CGST Act 2017, condition laid down under section 16 subsection 2 of the CGST Act 2017 and section 17. We'll discuss one by one. Any person who fulfills all these criteria, he'll be treated as eligible person to claim the GST input credit ITC. So first of all, we are going to discuss section 16 subsection 1. Section 16 subsection 1 says any goods or services purchased for the use or intended to be used in the business, यानी कि अगर आपको किसी गुड्स और सर्विस का इनपुट क्लेम करना है तो वो तो या तो बिजनेस में यूज होनी चाहिए और यूज होने के पर्पज से आनी चाहिए, इंटेंडेड टू बी यूज होना जरूरी है। द अमाउंट ऑफ आईटीसी इनपुट क्रेडिट मस्ट बी रिफ्लेक्ट इन द क्रेडिट लेजर ऑफ द बायर। बायर के क्रेडिट लेजर में भी वो आनी चाहिए। सेक्शन 16 सबसेक्शन 1। सेक्शन 16 सबसेक्शन 2 says he must have debit note or invoice for claiming the input. Section 16 subsection 2 clause B says he must have received goods or services. This is an interesting point. Means, let assume you have ordered a goods to a Mumbai dealer on 29th of June 2025, and you received the goods in Delhi on 1st July 2025. Now the question arises, you must have debit note invoice of the dated 29th June 2025. Your supplier will file the return on time, and the amount will be reflected in the credit ledger or for the month of June 2025. But since you have received the goods in July 2025, your credit will be moved to the month of July itself. That's why it is written how much ITC can be claimed, because the ITC which is reflecting in your credit ledger, you cannot utilize all the ITC before complying the condition under section 16 subsection 2. You will be entitled to claim this ITC if in the month of July instead of June. While you have the debit note or invoice in the month of June, your ITC is showing in the month of June credit ledger, but your input will be shifted to the next month. Section 16, subsection 2, third condition says your supplier has paid the taxes through cash ledger or credit ledger. Fourth condition says you are filing returns regularly. It means if now the GST returns are sequential filing, if you are not filing regular GST return, then you will not be able to claim the ITC for the subsequent month. It means if you want to claim the ITC for June month, you have to comply with all the filing of GSTR 1 and 3B of May month first. पहले आपको मई की रिटर्न कंप्लीट करनी है तभी आप जून के मंथ का आईटीसी ले पाओगे. यू आर फाइलिंग रिटर्न जीएसटी रिटर्न्स रेगुलरली. As I said in the initial points, the input tax credit in GST is most complicated. So after completing condition lying in section 16.1, section 16.2, section 17 subsection 1 says if goods or services are purchased or bought for partly for business and partly for other use or personal use, then ITC shall be allowed only to the extent the such goods or services are being used for business purposes. This is section 17 subsection 1. Section 17 subsection 2 says if the goods or services supplied further supplied for zero rated or exempt supply. So your ITC will be available to the extent your supply is made for zero rated goods or services. Exempt supply to the extent the ITC on the supply made under the category of exempt supply, the ITC will be restricted. Your ITC will be blocked. Exempt supply means the supply which is where tax is payable under RCM, supply of land, supply of building, which is not under the construction link plan. These are the few situations where the supply is treated as exempt supply. तो एग्जम्प्ट सप्लाई के आई पोर्शन का आईटीसी आपको अवेलेबल नहीं होगा सेक्शन 17 सबसेक्शन 2 के हिसाब से. सेक्शन 17 सबसेक्शन 3 टॉक्स अबाउट द situation which are exempt supply which I described here. Section 17 subsection 4 deals with the ITC of banking business. It says bank has the option either they will claim the ITC 50% of the total accumulated ITC. Otherwise, you have to go for the section 17 subsection 2, meaning thereby you have to segregate, you have to completely account for which supply is for zero rated supply and which is for exempt supply. So exempt supplies ITC they have to forego, and in banking there are various supply which cover under the exempt supply. Section 17, subsection 5 deals with the block credit. Section 17(1) to 17(4) talks about the apportionment of the credit ITC, but Section 17, subsection 5 completely blocks the ITC. It talks about blocked credit. It gives the few situations where ITC will be completely blocked. You will not be able to claim the ITC, such as if you buy any vehicle, you will not be entitled to claim the ITC. अगर आप कोई कार खरीदते हो, carrying capacity is 13 passenger or less, including driver, then ITC of such vehicle will not be allowed. On the ITC will be allowed only if these vehicles are being used for furtherance of business as tour and travel business. If this vehicle is being used for tour and travel purposes, meaning thereby you will generate the output ITC, then you will be allowed to claim the ITC of this vehicle. If this vehicle is held as stock in trade for the dealer, car dealer or automobile dealer, stock in trade, then you will be entitled to claim the ITC. If these vehicles are being used in training center, motor driving training center, then you will be able to claim the ITC. Only this situation where you can claim the ITC. And second most interesting thing is you are not entitled to claim the ITC of building or civil structure for own use. For own use, the most famous case of Safari Retreat was based on this only. Safari Retreat case was based on the civil structure for own use case. So these are the few situations, few conditions for claiming the ITC. This is about how and when or what is the quantum of availing the GST input tax credit. So be careful before claiming the ITC because it has the financial implication, imprisonment, and so other adverse impact on the business and the business owner also. So thanks for watching the tax blueprint. Keep watching, keep sharing, subscribing the channel for more interesting videos. Thanks.